Something else you guys should know about me, I don't drink. I've actually never been drunk, not even once in my life, not even like at one party in high school, like nothing. And people ask me all the time, how do you manage that? And the truth is, it's thanks to the just say no method. Do you guys know what that is? That's where someone goes, hey, should we invite Mayce to this party? And then someone else just says no. So you guys really felt bad for me on that one. Don't worry, I'm all right, I'm doing good. It is weird. When I tell people I don't drink, some people get mad. There's like a certain type of guy that'll be like, what, you don't drink? I don't trust a man who doesn't drink. Like, of course, you wouldn't want me to drive well or enunciate around you by accident. But it's strange. Like, I do think society kind of judges you for not drinking. Like, if you look at the language that we use, like, I was at this restaurant and they had like this whole selection of boozy milkshakes. And I asked if I could get one without alcohol, and the waitress goes, oh, virgin. All right, I'm still a paying customer. You don't have to throw that in my face. Why is that the word? That's the word? Why? There's already a way better word for a milkshake without alcohol. It's milkshake. Just say milkshake. Like, if I want a cheeseburger without cheese, I could say hamburger. I don't have to be like, excuse me, could I please get the loser burger for lonely people? With a side of fries that have never felt a woman's touch? So many better words. Dry. We're not all sitting in Virgin Bar right now. It's my dream doing this in here, just Willy Wonka's candy factory. So everyone's all hopped up on sugar. I love this. This is great. It's a good change up for me. It's weird because doing comedy, I spend a lot of nights in bars around drunk people, and one time I got in a bar fight. And I know that's a surprise. I don't look like the type of guy that gets in a fight in a bar. I look like I would get in a dispute at a board game cafe. And I have, but that's because you don't say you read the instructions if you didn't read the instructions. But this is what happened in the bar fight. I'll tell you the story. So I was at this comedy show, and there was this drunk guy in the audience that was heckling every comedian, right? And then at some point in the show, this one comic goes up, and she starts roasting him. She makes fun of the guy, and she does it so well that he finally shuts up. And then, so he finally is quiet, and he stops heckling. But he's still angry, right? And so what he does is he goes to the back of the room. There's a table that all the comics had left their stuff at. He looks for her jacket, and then he dumps a glass of beer all over it. And I saw him do that, so I knew I had to say something, right? Because number one, I think that's really rude and aggressive, and comedy can already be a pretty hostile industry for a lot of women. I'm not gonna stand there and let him make it harder. And number two, it was actually my jacket. Yeah, so hers was right beside it, you know, so he saw both of them, and he's like, well, clearly this is the one that drapes the feminine figure, sploosh. But it doesn't matter, I knew what he was trying to do, right? So I went up to him and I was like, hey man, I saw what you did to her unisex jacket that I think would look cool on anyone, and it's very breathable material, transitions well from day to night, but the point is, that was really rude, and you're clearly not enjoying yourself, so why don't you just go? That's what I said to him. And he looks at me and he goes, let's go outside. And this is how naive I was, because I had never been in a fight before. My first thought was, that's a better place to talk this out. Let's get out there. And so I'm like, yeah, let's go. And we walk outside. I turn around to talk to him, and he immediately headbutts me in the face. Pretty intimidating opening move. Headbutt. I was like, well, I don't know what to do. I was thinking maybe if I had to, I'd try to punch you in the face. But now you're punching yourself in the face with my face. So I don't even know what to do. You're doing both sides of this fight right now. I just hope you knock yourself out with my body. That's the best I can hope for. So he headbutted me, and I was shocked, and so I pushed him back, and then he dropped his crutches, and Yeah, oof, that's not a fun detail, but it is true. He had a broken leg. His whole leg was in a cast this whole story. I didn't tell you that off the top because it doesn't sound cool to tell people you beat up a guy in crutches, all right? Sounds even less cool to tell people you got beat up by a guy in crutches. And that's what happened, because once I pushed him, he just stumbled for a second, and then he caught his balance, and then he started walking back towards me. I was like, how are you walking? I don't know a lot about fighting, but I'm pretty sure when you're fighting someone, they shouldn't be getting less injured as you fight them. And so he just came back at me and started punching. I didn't land a single hit. People had to pull him off of me. I was so embarrassed, I just went back inside, put on her jacket, and left. I'm from Canada originally, but I live in Los Angeles now. I just moved this year, but a couple weeks ago I had to fly back home to help my mom sign into her iPad. So, yeah. Have you guys ever had to talk your mom through a tech issue over the phone? I was like, it's gonna be cheaper for me to just book a plane ticket than pay for these minutes. And plus, if we keep going, I think I'm gonna have to start smoking cigarettes. So I am tightly wound. My mom says that I'm impatient. Maybe, I don't know. I think it's just that she doesn't really respect my time. Like, I'll give you an example. Like, when I ask my mom a question, she starts the answer as far away as possible from the information I need. Like, you can tell from the first couple words out of her mouth that she's about to take the scenic route to this info. One time, I was like in a rush. I was running late to something. I was running out the door, but I was supposed to hang out with my mom later, so I quickly tried to ask her. I was like, hey, Mom, what time should I be home for dinner? She goes, well, I got a letter from your Aunt Kathy. No, that can't be a part of this, Mom. What? None of those words are needed. A letter? No, I was running late, so I was like, Mom, I'm sorry, I'm in a rush. Could you please just tell me? And she's like, whoa, sorry, Mr. Busy. She's like, if you just let me go on, you would have had your answer by now. And then I felt bad, so it's like, you're right, I'm sorry, please continue. She's like, in 1986, I don't think it matters how time-sensitive what I'm doing is. Like, I could be trying to defuse a bomb. Just like, what do I cut, the red one or the blue one? She'd be like, Blue was the name of my first dog. But I love my mom. She's great. My parents are great. They taught me a lot of good things. One thing they taught me is that marriage is something that's really beautiful and special and should be cherished. And they taught me that by getting married a bunch of times to different people. They loved it, They couldn't have just one. They did. They had to get divorced, of course, for that. They got divorced when I was 4 years old, which I think that's a good time for that, Like, if you're a parent in this room thinking about pulling the trigger, I say do it. Do it tonight, Sooner the better. Because listen, some of my friends, their parents are getting divorced now, and that seems way harder to deal with, right? Like, if you're a kid and your parents get divorced, you get ice cream. If you're an adult and your parents get divorced, you get details. Like, your mom is like, your dad has a gambling problem. And your dad is like, I'm not your dad. So it wasn't a big deal for me, My parents are great, and they loved each other. They just weren't each other's match, Because they would argue all the time. That was their thing. Like, I only really remember one argument, and this is why. We were having dinner, and my mom was yelling at my dad. And then my mom started choking on a piece of steak. And it was like bad, like there was finally some peace and quiet for a second. And then my dad runs over and he tries to give her the Heimlich maneuver, but he doesn't know what he's doing, so it's really scary for like a whole minute. And then finally, the piece of steak dislodges, it shoots out of her mouth, flies across the room. And then my mom just keeps yelling at my dad. Like, she didn't miss a beat. It was like nothing happened. She was just like, oh, you think you can just save my life, huh? And then get off scot-free. And he's like, I did think that, I did. Where'd that piece of steak go?